In today's lesson, you're going to learn the difference between active voice and passive voice in English grammar. And we're going to be practicing using the passive voice with the most common verb tenses in English. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hey there, how's it going? Thiago here, and welcome to another lesson here on the channel. In case you're new here, I created this channel to help intermediate and advanced learners of English communicate with more confidence, more accuracy, more clarity, and more awareness. So today we're going to be talking about active voice versus passive voice. So take a look. Here I have an example that goes like this. Jim built this house 10 years ago. This is an active voice sentence. Why? Because Jim is my primary element here. My main focus with the sentence is not really the house, but is who built the house, who performed the action of building the house. Jim. That's why I also start my sentence with him, with Jim. Jim built this house 10 years ago. So we could say that in this sentence in particular, Jim is more important in terms of emphasis than the house. That's why we call this an active voice sentence. Now, if I want to change this to passive, I have to invert the order. If in the first sentence, Jim is my main element, now in the passive voice, the house, the object, will be my main element. So I start with this house. Now, in the past, we would say was built. This house was built 10 years ago. 10 years ago. There you go. This house was built 10 years ago. Now, this is in the passive voice. Notice that if I want, I can also go by Jim. So if you want to specify the person here who built the house, you can. In the passive sentence, you can say, this house was built 10 years ago by Jim. But notice that since Jim is no longer my primary element here, it becomes optional. I can mention him or not. If I prefer, I can just go, this house was built 10 years ago. You see, it doesn't really matter who built it. My main focus is the house. I want to talk about the house, and that's it. So this is a passive voice sentence. So as you can see here, Jim is my main element in the first version. All right. Now, in the passive version, the house becomes my main element. You see the difference right here? Also notice that the first sentence is in the simple past. Built 10 years ago. So this is the main difference between active voice and passive voice in English grammar. Remember, active voice focuses on who performs an action. Passive voice focuses on the object that receives that action, usually. It could be a person as well. For example, what if I say this? Look, I was told that the party would be tomorrow. I was told that the party would be tomorrow. Now, this is a passive sentence as well, even though I'm talking about me, a person. But here, I'm not telling you who told me that. So maybe my friend told me that. Maybe my brother told me that. Maybe my boss told me that. We don't know because I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that I was told that the party would be tomorrow. So it is possible for a person to receive an action, in this case, me, right? I was told. But most of the time, when we think of passive voice, we think of an object that receives the action. For example, this house was built 10 years ago. So now let's take a look at how to form the passive voice, at the actual structure. And we're going to be looking into the most common verb tenses in English and how the passive voice behaves with each one. So here is a little table that I created, that I put together for this lesson. As you can see here, we're not going to cover all the verb tenses in English, just the most common ones, the ones that are mostly used in everyday conversations. So present simple, present continuous, past simple, past continuous, future with will, future with going to, present perfect continuous, and modals. All right? So let's get started here with present simple. Here I already have an active voice sentence, a sentence in the active voice. Look, John, my mechanic, checks my car every year. This is an active voice because I'm using John. John is my main element here, right? Who checks my car every year? John. All right? Now, if I want to change that to passive voice, I could go like this. My car is checked every year. You see? So let me just check the size here. Yeah, 18. There you go. So, John, my mechanic, checks my car every year becomes my car is checked every year. Remember, if I want, I can say by John. My car is checked every year by John, but it's not really mandatory. It's optional. So in the simple present, I have to use the verb to be in the present, as you can see here, is, are, or am. And remember, the verb is always in the past participle form, or the third column of the conjugation of the verbs there. So check, checked, checked. So in the simple present, the passive voice is formed with is checked in this example here. Okay? Now, present continuous. The kids are using the computer. Remember, to change it to passive voice, I need to reverse the order. So now I need to talk about the object. In this case, the computer. So take a look. I have here the computer is being used by the kids. You see? Now the sentence is in the present continuous form or tense. The computer is being used by the kids. So the structure here now changes a little bit. Is being used, as you can see. So I still use the verb to be in the present, am, is, are, but now to indicate the continuous form, I need to use being right here. And then the verb used, again, is in the past participle form. So the main difference between present simple and present continuous in the passive voice is this. Is past participle becomes is being past participle. All right? Then we have the past simple. Look, my brother paid the bill before I came back from the restroom. You see, simple past. My brother paid the bill. So, my brother paid the bill. What is the object here? What is the thing? The bill, right? So, let's focus our attention to the thing. Let's talk about the bill. So, the bill was paid when I came back from the restroom. You see? So, my brother paid the bill becomes the bill was paid. So, the structure now changes to was or were. So, in the present, I use am, is, are. In the past, I'm going to use was or were. But the main verb, in this case, paid, is still in the past participle. So remember that the main verb in passive voice will always be in the past participle form. Okay? what's going to change is what comes before the main verb. So the bill was paid when I came back from the restroom. Remember, I can also say the bill was paid by my brother when I came back from the restroom. But now the person who performs the action is optional, becomes optional. Okay? Moving on to past continuous, we have my friends were making dinner when I arrived. So were making, this is past continuous. So let's focus now on the dinner, the thing, right? So the dinner was being made when I arrived. You see? The dinner was being made when I arrived. Again, the dinner was being made by my friends when I arrived. But if I don't want to communicate that, I don't have to. I can just say the dinner was being made when I arrived. So notice that the word being indicates the continuous tense. And since it's past, I'm using was, not is. So was being made. All right? So we have was being in past participle. Then moving on to future with will, we have my boss will send the report by email. In the passive voice, we have the report will be sent by email. You see? The report will be sent by email. If you want to specify, you can say by my boss. All right? So now the structure is will be in the past participle. As you can see here, will be past participle. All right? Now, moving on to future with going to, here's a sentence. The former winner is going to host the award ceremony. So who is going to host the ceremony? The former winner. You see, that's a person. Is the person who will execute this action. But what if I don't want to specify who is going to do it? I just want to talk about the award ceremony. So, the awards ceremony is going to be hosted, you see? Now I say, by the former winner. Let me just reduce the size of the font here very quickly. There you go. So the award ceremony is going to be hosted by the former winner. Notice that sometimes, even when you use passive voice, the person who performs the action is still necessary to be mentioned or relevant. Like in this case, because we don't have any extra piece of information about the ceremony, I have to finish the sentence by specifying who is doing it. So, the award ceremony is going to be hosted by the former winner. All right? You know, it's very common for you to see passive voice being used in the news, for example. So pay attention next time you watch a news channel like CNN, NBC, BBC. Pay attention to that. Usually the reporters on TV, they tend to report the stories using lots of passive voice. Something was done. Something has been done. Like that. So the structure here becomes is going to be hosted. All right? So will be becomes is going to be. And the verb also in the past participle. Remember? Host, hosted, hosted. Then we have present perfect. Look, he has made many films since the 80s. He is my main focus here. That's why this is an active voice sentence. So to change it to passive, I need to talk about the films, right? So many films. Now look, have been made since the 80s. You see? Right here. We change that again. It didn't work out. Okay. So many films have been made since the 80s. Now, it doesn't really matter by who. In the first example here, I am being specific. He has made many films since the 80s. In the second example, many films have been made since the 80s. Now, it could be by him, it could be by her, it could be by anybody. Now, who does that? Doesn't really matter. You see? Now, present perfect continuous is an interesting case. Look, they've been sending emails for 2 hours. This sentence is an active voice sentence and is in the present perfect continuous. Who has been sending emails for 2 hours? They, right? So they've been sending. But usually, it's not that common for you to use present perfect continuous in the passive voice. I mean, you could say this, look, emails have been being sent for 2 hours. You could say that to indicate the continuous form. I use being, right? So emails have been being sent for 2 hours. But that's not very common because for obvious reasons, it sounds kind of too much, right? So usually what we do is we tend to transform a present perfect continuous sentence using present perfect simple in the passive voice. So I would just say here, emails have been sent for 2 hours. So notice that I'm just using the present perfect simple tense when I change it to passive. All right? So keep that in mind. Finally, with the modals we have, for example, must, should, may, might, can, could. These are all modal verbs. Just like will, remember, will be a participle, the same thing applies here. Modal, be participle. For example, he must do something. Must is the modal. Do is the main verb. So I'm going to use modal, be participle. So something, modal, must, be, and what's the past participle of do? Done. Something must be done about this. Okay? Something must be done about this. I'm using must here, but it could be any other modal. For example, he may do something about this becomes something may be done about this. Something could be done about this. Something might be done about this. You see? So these are the structures of the passive voice sentence in the most common verb tenses in English. So, have been made, let me just highlight that here so it's clear. Have been sent, right here. This is the passive voice tense. And something must be done, like that. Okay? So now listen and repeat after me. Come on. My car is checked every year. The computer is being used by the kids. The bill was paid when I came back from the restroom. The dinner was being made when I arrived. The report will be sent by email. The award ceremony is going to be hosted by the former winner. All right? So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope it helped you better understand the difference between active voice and passive voice in English grammar. Now it's up to you to go ahead and practice this and incorporate the structure into your own English. Don't forget to learn more about my pronunciation course, my private community, and my conversation club. All these 3 products can help you take your English to the next level, speak English with more confidence, more clarity, more awareness, as I always say here on the channel. So if you want to learn more about how these resources can help you with your English learning journey, check the links out. Here in the description of the video, you can find all of them, and also in the pinned comment below. Subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber yet. This helps me a lot here on YouTube. Like this video if you found this lesson useful. Leave me a comment maybe suggesting a future topic I could talk about when it comes to making a lesson here for the channel. Maybe a grammar topic or vocabulary topic. And share this video with a friend who's also learning English. Okay? Thank you so much for your attention. I'm Thiago. I'm signing off, and I'll be talking to you very soon in the upcoming lesson. Bye-bye.